And we are live, Mets and overall baseball fans. Thank you guys so much for chiming in to the latest post-game coverage, sharing immediate recap, analysis, key highlights, and responding to your questions and reactions as the Mets defeat the St. Louis Cardinals today 7-3. And this was a big win, not just because of the fact that, yes, the Mets actually won the game, but really because of the fact of who was on the mound. This was easily the most hyped up spring training game any of us have seen. I know that I've seen any of us have truly witnessed, with Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer, two multi-Cy Young Award winners, pitching in the same exact game, and really couldn't have gone much better than what it did in the 7-3 victory over the Cardinals. So to everyone first chiming in the live stream, thank you all so much for being here. Make sure to smash on that like and subscribe button. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, especially if you're watching this on replay, we do post-game coverage basically after every single Mets game. Heading into the regular season, we'll be doing easily over 100 post-games, upwards of 120 even, along with plenty of other Mets coverage and analysis and clean collaborations and stuff like that. But I know we got people in the live stream, and I know we're going to have people on replay listening to, watching. So again, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you guys are excited to get into this one, no matter how you're watching, because again, big win for the Mets today. This was so hyped up. I've had this marked on my calendar from when we first found out that yes, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer would be pitching the same exact game together. And we also had Starling Marte make his Mets debut today, playing in right field. He looks fantastic. He looks like a guy that hasn't been dealing with an oblique injury since he came into camp for the Mets. So many positives to go around. I'm really excited to deep dive everything that transpired here. Again, shout out every single one of you guys. I'm going to just do a quick roll call to everyone in the live stream right now. If you're watching replay, you can just skip over this quick. Baseball card, how's it going? David, JR, Milo, Adam, Jubilee, Mama Worm, Dolores, Joseph, Mile High Miles, Adam, Giovanni, Scott, great member on the channel. Paulie, how's it going? Going down the list further, Hayden, how's it going, buddy? Jay, Boogie, all you guys, thank you all so much for being here. And again, if I miss anyone's comments, names, I do apologize. I will get to your comments very soon as we get towards the end of this post-game coverage. But yeah, let's just start out. Let's talk about it, guys. I want to know everyone's immediate reaction to what transpired here, whether you watched live or, if you're watching replay, because the Mets win this one. And man, oh man, was this a pitching clinic. Let me tell you. And I think what first stood out to me the most that I enjoyed so much watching this game for the Mets was the fact, and Blindbird, how's it going? Let's see, Lindor fan, all you guys, appreciate you all being in here. But I love the fact, Chaos, all you guys, is that Jacob deGrom came out, had 5 punchies easily over 3 innings, did give up 4 hits and 1 run, but that 1 run was a tricker that just got past Lindor's glove. So it wasn't an error, but it was definitely one of those plays that normally Francisco Lindor would have in the infield that wouldn't have led to a run. Either way, the hits that Jake gave up today, for the most part, were on his off-speed stuff, and Jake prioritized his off-speed pitches today. He pitched everything in his arsenal for the most part. He pitched more curveballs than we've seen him pitch all of last season, and on the first curveball that he threw, one of them at least, he had a nice swing and miss, and the second one went right down the pipe for a single, and he was laughing it off. So Jake clearly prioritized spring exactly how a pitcher, or any player for that matter, should prioritize spring training, even with having only so much time. And that is to really toy with stuff that you want to do prior to the season, because once the season begins, we ain't going to see Jake toying with his pitches nearly as much as what we saw him do today. All of his strikeouts out of the 5, almost every single one of them for the most part, was off of his right around 91-mile-per-hour slider, just looking awfully deadly. And then he, of course, was toying with the changeup a lot today to get some more command on that, to work on that, which looks sick. Then you, of course, have the curveball that, again, did get hit a little bit today, but it's the fact that he's just trying to locate and use his entire arsenal. He didn't have 1 strikeout today, folks, based off of his 4-seam fastball. Isn't that ridiculous? And something really interesting about his fastball today, as we're going to deep dive his entire numbers and the Mets, how they score today, sharing our reactions to this, as always, folks, is that according to Michael Mayer, I'm glad he brought this up from Mets Mirage. Shout out to Michael. He tweeted this earlier. And he said something interesting to note on Jacob deGrom. I had 3 4-seamers today with a spin rate of at least 2,600 RPMs in his start today. He only had 15 such pitches during the 2021 season. So the RPMs are higher on his 4-seam fastball than usual, and that isn't a sticky substance situation. That just means that somehow, some way, Jake is even getting more nasty, if that's even possible for the best pitcher in baseball. But again, had a fantastic outing today, was topping out right around 99 miles per hour on that fastball. He threw 52 pitches. The majority of them were strikes, upwards of 40, I believe 38 out of the 52 were strikes by Jake today, just doing absolute painting the corners per usual, right down the pipe. So hard for those Cardinals hitters to actually hit. The Cardinals did not have a normal lineup out today. They had some guys in their normal lineup, like Dylan Carlson, Lars Nootbaar, who, again, all of us Mets fans hate from the end of last season, if you remember his amazing catch in right field. I think that was to catch Alonso. It could be wrong. Harrison Bader, Paul DeJong, who we all hate because he's a Mets killer. Those are really the only everyday players for the most part in the Cardinals lineup. So they definitely faced a tough challenge, not only facing Jacob deGrom today, but also Max Scherzer right after him. But again, Jake did a fantastic job carving guys up. We'll deep dive his numbers further here in a second. But Max Scherzer, what did we see? Oh, yeah, 6 innings pitched. Came in after the 3rd inning, was just simply dominant. 3 hits, did give up 2 runs, including an absolute piss missile in the 9th. That, again, you would argue Scherzer probably shouldn't have pitched, but because he's crazy, standing constantly ways in the dugout in between innings, he's never sitting. He's always a jitterbug, ready to go. He did give up a bomb, but that didn't phase him. He then got another strikeout. 7 Ks in 6 innings on 89 pitches for Scherzer. Did get worked a little bit, especially in his 3rd inning out there, but he did not give up any hits during that time. Got out of the jam, so he went hitless in the first 3 innings he pitched today. Then he gave up a couple hits, and then one run ended up scoring. Then another from a home run. That was a really nice home run, might I add, by the Cardinals. But the Mets were hitting when they needed to most. And this wasn't just satisfying because we saw the Mets have dominant pitching. Truly a historic outing, not just for spring training, but pitching as a whole. We've never seen 2 multi-time Cy Young Award winners, 5 Cy Youngs between the 2 here pitching the same game. Jacob deGrom as an opener, who would have thought, right? But that's what we saw today. But hitting wise, the Mets actually clutched up with the hitting when it mattered most. So as many of you guys see here on the graphic, we have Wardy's top 5. If you guys don't know, I'm Wardy Tyler, but you guys know me as WardyNYM. What we have here are, in my opinion, the top 5 moments, the key plays of the game, the key performances, rather. Number 1 is, of course, Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer. They combined for 9 total innings. No relievers pitched today for the Mets. They had 12 strikeouts and only gave up 3 runs total. Really, really good. Then we had Francisco Lindor, who stood out so much. And again, thank you all so much for being here, guys. Continue smashing that like and subscribe button. Help us get to 200 likes by the end of the live stream. Would really be appreciated. Help us get a 15K subs for the next short-term goal on the channel if you enjoy this type of post-game coverage. But what's that was Francisco Lindor. He was barreling the ball like crazy today, easily 103, 104, 105 plus miles per hour on the exit velo. He had a piss missile of a home run from the left side and then got himself his 2nd home run, this time from the right side towards the end of the game. Had himself a ridiculous liner when he was on the left side as well for a single that dropped out of the glove of the right fielder for the Cardinals. And he was just making ridiculous contact. So far, Francisco Lindor now in spring is batting over 400 with 2 home runs and at least 4 RBIs. Just doing a fantastic job. Lindor's swing looks perfect. I think he's going to transition into the season really as best as what we could ask for now that his contract is finally starting to kick in on the $341 million. So to all the critics out there, you're going to critique the guy. Now is the time to start doing it, not last year. We can't look at his 2.5 months of poor performance in 2021 and ignore what he did after that, which was very Lindor-esque numbers. But now this is where the contract kicks in, and I fully expect Lindor to have a very strong year for the Mets. I'm awfully excited. He's doing everything right thus far, and for good reason. Again, you can't get much better with what Lindor is doing right now in spring, and hopefully it'll be a smooth transition heading into this season. But guys, let's get into all the numbers. Let's look at offensively for the Mets, how exactly they fared today. Because again, you have Tomas Nido here was 2 for 3, had himself an absolute bomb. Nido already has a home run in spring. He only had 3 all of last season. So to put things into context, and James McCann, who's been out for a little bit over the past week or so, he will be playing this upcoming Tuesday in the Mets' next spring training game with Chris Bassett on the mound. We'll be doing post-game coverage for that as well. But Tomas Nido has looked really, really strong, especially with getting more time than usual in spring, in the shortened spring. So I'm loving what I'm seeing that from him. Had a run scoring this 2 RBIs from the opposite field home run that he had. Then Pete Alonso went 2 for 3 today, had himself a nice double and a run scored. And my number 5, and again, you can pick who you want for this, but I had Starling Marte. Marte, who Gary Cohen didn't even know if Marte was going to be swinging the bat at his at-bat state coming off of his oblique injury that the Mets have been unbelievably cautious on. not a problem. He goes in, he starts hacking. He struck out his first at bat off of a 94-mile-per-hour sinker that was nasty. Down and in, nothing he could really do there. But then he got himself a nice double along the third baseline that trickled past the third baseman, legged out a double leg, no problem, and he just looked fantastic in right field. He's never played right field at the MLB level. The Mets plan to utilize him a lot there because he has the best arm out of all the Mets outfielders right now, so they want to put him in right for that reason in part, and also his age is a factor too, I'm sure. But Marte, my goodness, he had a nice full sprint catch to get the out to end the inning on one of the innings that Scherzer was pitching. And he's someone that every single time that you saw him on the bases, he was checking out all the defensive alignments. He knew for certain how to jump, especially from second, when Mark Canha got himself an RBI by bringing in Starling Marte today. Exactly what A's fans saw in the second half of last season when Marte got traded to Oakland. Him and Canha were doing really well on second and, of course, at the plate to get those runs scored. That's what the Mets signed up for this offseason when Billy Epler landed these guys like Mark Canha and Starling Marte in particular. They're going to be guys that are going to ground out. They're going to get you those doubles and ground out. That's not what I meant to say. They're going to grind things out. They're going to get those gappers for you. They're going to get those clutch singles, and they're going to constantly get on base and be an absolute nemesis to the opposing pitcher that's just trying to get an easy out. You're not going to get it with these type of players, and this is a type of grind of a game that we can expect to see from the Mets a lot this year, more so on the small ball aspect. But again, Mets were piss poor with runners in scoring position last season, and they did struggle at times to get on base. Mets now have a nice balance of the two, and really the only thing you can argue that they're still lacking is more home run power. But again, we'll see what they do come, the trade deadline down the stretch this season, should they not do any trades prior of significance. We'll see how Dom Smith, Robinson Cano, who did not have a good day at the plate, might add, outside of a nice bloop single that he got lucky off of a broken bat, and J.D. Davis, how they fare in that position. But overall, this Mets offense is destined to be more consistent than ever. They had 12 hits today, and it was all because of the likes of Eduardo Escobar, Starling Marte, Mark Canha, Francisco Lindor, the core pieces in this offense, and it's making this lineup so much deeper than what it has been in previous years. But again, shout out all you guys. I really appreciate all you being here. Darren, how's it going? Great member on the channel. All you guys, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'll be getting to your questions very soon, guys, after I recap everything that transpired in this game. But offensively, again, Jeff McNeil over 3. Jeff McNeil was spreading the field a little bit, some groundouts, but McNeil, the past 2 games, however, that we didn't touch on the channel, because one, I couldn't even watch because there was no coverage for it, and the other game just wasn't able to do post-game for it, given the timing. Jeff McNeil had himself a triple, had himself a double. He's looked really, really good spraying the field. Didn't get lucky with a hit today, but I'm liking the Jeff McNeil that I'm seeing so far this spring. He's barreling the ball better. He's spreading the field more, and he's looking more and more like the Jeff McNeil of old. A lack of frustration versus the constantly frustrated and hot-headed McNeil that we saw in 2021 with his injuries and not. But 0 for 3 today for the most part, starting at second base. Then we saw Mark Canha 1 for 4, as I mentioned, with an RBI with Starling Marte on second. Then we also had Francisco Lindor again, 3 for 4, 2 runs scored, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, just an absolute beauty. Pete Alonso 2 for 3 with a run scored, with the double that we just discussed, and a walk. Robinson Cano 1 for 4, as we just discussed. Going further, Eduardo Escobar did not get a hit today, my mistake, but he did get himself, did he get himself an RBI? Yes, he did. He got himself a sac fly. That's why I was forgetting, as you've seen the highlights here. And going a little bit further, Travis Jankowski, who is quickly making himself a really, in my opinion, a really interesting fourth outfield option for the Mets, because while I would like the Mets to have more pop, especially in their outfield, Travis Jankowski is kind of doing everything right to sell himself as a fourth outfielder with ease over the Clear Leads and the Nick Plumbers of the world. There's no one better than Jankowski right now from what we've seen this spring. He was 1 for 3 today, got himself a walk that ended up being a run scored because he's fast as hell on the base pass, pardon my French, looked great in the outfield with the glove, has some strong discipline at the plate, really has a strong eye, will get on base at a good clip from what we've seen throughout his career. So the 30-year-old may very well have more of an impact for the Mets than maybe we expected this year, and it will only take time will tell to see exactly how good or how bad that may be. But there's no denying that Travis Jankowski has pretty much done everything that you would want from someone of his caliber, and the tools he brings with that defensive versatility and that crazy speed on that bags, and with this solid eye at the plate, I might add too, as a lefty bat outfielder that can play all over. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jankowski again. From Pennsylvania, of course, went to Stony Brook, is a Hall of Famer there. Love to see it. Then Tomas Nido again, 2 for 3 with the home run, the run scored, and the 2 RBIs. Starling Marte 1 for 2 with the run scored and the double. And that's all for offense and pitching you guys saw. Let's break down the numbers a little bit further before we go forward. But again, Appreciate everyone in here for the post game. I just want to break down a little bit further how Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer were looking in their arsenals today, because it was really, really good. And again, I don't know where we are on the like count, but continue smashing that up. Always appreciate it, folks, for this post-game coverage. Hope you guys are enjoying the live stream too. So to everybody, to my 200+ viewers, if you're watching this live or on replay, let me know in the comments. Let me know exactly in the live stream how the format is looking, how the highlights are looking. Do you like everything that you're seeing visually? Let me know. Always appreciate it. But Jacob deGrom, again, 48% of his pitches today were with his fastball, but he did not get one strikeout on the four-seamer today, and he topped out right around 89.9, so 99 miles per hour, and the minimum was 95 on the heater. Average 97.2, and last year's average was 99, but again, you're not going to expect him to be fully pumping gas until a certain point this season. He's openly said from his first start that he's not going full, right out the tank like he did last year to prevent any potential injuries, and I don't blame him for doing that. Slider was at 37% of his arsenal today. Looked really, really good. Topped out at 93 miles per hour on the slider and sat around 90. The average was 91.3 to be exact, which is disgusting stuff from that slider from Jake today. Even when it's right down the pipe, the hitters were still not able to hit it. Then we had the changeup that was 8%. He threw that 4 times. And the curveball, he threw 4 times as well for 8% respectively. And when you look at the pitches for the changeup, topped out around 91 miles per hour and sat on average right around 90. Really, really strong stuff. And the curveball topped right around 85 miles per hour and sat right around 84 and a half. So just nastiness is what we saw all day long here from Jacob deGrom. And one thing that, again, talking about the four-seam again, with his average spin rate on the four-seam fastball today, the average today was 22,493. And the year average for him was 2,418. So it's up by 75.0. And that, again, isn't anything drastic. But those pitches that we saw him topping out at 2,615, that's interesting because he only did that 15 times last year, and he already did it 3 times today. So definitely crazy to see him increase that spin rate more than what he has already. Let's see here. Slider spin rate was actually down by just around 100, but nothing drastic today. Average 2,499. Last year, the average was 2,598. Again, it's going to fluctuate plenty throughout the year, but this is nothing drastic from what I'm seeing. And then going to Max Scherzer now, folks. Scherzer, 40% of his pitches today were from the four-seam fastball. He topped out right around 95.5 miles per hour. Minimum was 92.5, so around 93 if you round it. Average fastball today was 94.1, and the year average was 94.3, so sitting right around the average, at least from his last start, I should say. Slider, 28% of the time today, including 13 pitches. 88 was where he topped out. Where he sat was 94, and where he averaged, I should say, was 85.5, so right around 86, and the year average has been around 86 on the slider. And then the changeup, curveball, cutter, you don't really need to deep dive those too much. He utilized them plenty, 13% on the changeup today, 11% on the curveball, and 9% on the cutter. So working a 5-pitch arsenal is what we saw from both pitchers today, outside Jacob deGrom having 4 pitches out of the 5. But again, love what I saw today from both pitchers respectively. And again, I just love the fact that out of this entire performance that we saw Jacob deGrom toy with more pitches than he's normally accustomed to. Jake can easily mow down guys in order without a problem by just throwing his fastball, like not even throwing a slider if he doesn't need to. Right now, we saw him toy with the curveball, toy with the changeup. Now's the time to do these things. And again, this was a very, very good time to be doing that. So let's see. I'm already seeing some nonsense, so I'm just going to give a timeout in the chat, because if you're not excited about what you witnessed today as a Mets fan, even with this being spring training, then I really think you're not paying attention. This was a historic day, and not just baseball, but Mets baseball. The first time that we ever saw Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer pitching the same game. And there's a very strong possibility we may never see the two pitch in the same game again, outside of, I don't know, fingers crossed, a playoff performance. But again, the Mets have to get themselves to that point before we can really consider talking about something like that. But again, Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, this was something that was unprecedented. We have never seen something like this in the history of baseball, even for spring. Port St. Lucie today was sold out. The only thing that was open was standing room only for people that were actually attending today's game by time you actually got there. So it just shows you that Mets fans are hyped up, and rightfully so. I know I am. I felt so good. If Kate, I didn't show it yet, but I am wearing a Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer 7-line shirt for 2022. And there wasn't a more fitting day to wear this shirt than today. And I'm proud that I got the chance to wear it. I'm proud that I was able to watch this one. And as Josh was saying, only one can win Cy Young. Exactly. And that's the best part. The Mets have two elite pitchers that can be competing for the Cy Young, that fully expect to be competing for the Cy Young Award this year. It'll just come down to health, probably more than anything, consistency. That's what they're known for. That's why they're two of the best pitchers that the game has ever saw. But guys, I'm going to start answering your questions here in a second. Again, I appreciate everyone so much that's just chiming in the live stream right now. If you're watching in replay, if you've been enjoying this post-game recap of the New York Mets winning 7-3 over, yes, the St. Louis Cardinals. This was a massive win for them. I'm excited. But before I start to deep dive any further numbers, answering questions, this is actually where I'm going to probably cut things off for people that are watching on replay. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, if you're not watching the live stream, if you're here live, make sure you stay. I'll be answering plenty of questions and deep diving some more numbers. But for the people that just want the quick info, 20 to 30 minutes, this is where we're going to cut things off on a great victory, 7-3 over the Cardinals for the Mets in spring training. They're now above 500 on their spring training record, I believe. And now we'll see what they do for the ensuing couple of games as we get closer and closer to opening day. Thank you so much for watching, folks, and let's go Mets.